wanted to share with you all about how to make a tincture. Tinctures are a huge part of my creams. It's my active ingredients in a lot of my creams, especially the more medicinal side. So today I'm actually making my seaweed tincture. So here's my seaweed. This is my raw seaweed. I actually buy my seaweed from Jolene, who is from Tilba, and she harvests wild seaweed. She's a marine biologist, so she knows the correct seaweed to harvest, when to harvest it, and how to process it. So I'm assured that I'm getting the very best seaweed I know that I can get on the market. And it's absolutely a beautiful product and ingredient. So I quite simply get the raw ingredient and measure out what I need. I use big stainless steel vats, and here's my vat here. So I've got a few vats. So this is my vats here. And so they're all food grade stainless steel, which is amazing. And I prepare them by sterilising them. Now I use a certified organic disinfectant, and it's hospital grade. And I also still do the old fashioned boiling water, because boiling water kills about 99% of bacteria, and it's quick, it's easy, and it's efficient. So I might just pop you on hyperdrive while I do all that. So next what I do is I boil up some water that has got a pH slightly acidic through my ionizer. Now an ionizer is actually electric currents that go through water to take out bacteria, and also creates a slightly acidic water, which is perfect for skincare. If you don't have the right pH, that's when people can start having reactions to skincare, especially if it's too acidic or if it's too neutral. And so it can cause a lot of problems. So I put that through my ionizer, and that is actually rain caught water too that I use out in our stainless steel tank out the back there from our lab. Okay, so using incredibly hot, boiling hot water with organic disinfectant, I steam it for quite a while and make sure that it's really, really very, very clean and very, very hot to kill all that nasty bacteria. So bacteria, I do a lot of swabs in my lab to make sure that I keep my bacteria down, and we use a lot of organic methods to clean and sterilise, because if you don't, then you have to put preservatives in your creams to stop the bacteria from growing. So I'm very much into stopping, or not actually having bacteria in the creams to start with. It's impossible to keep out every bacteria, of course, but we do our utmost to make sure that we don't add bacteria to the cream. Okay, so I've got my pot here. It's been steaming for a while, and it's still quite hot. So I've disinfected the nozzle as well. So I'm just going to quite simply I've measured out my seaweed, and my recipe. When you're doing a tincture, you have to research the particular herb that you are using and what you want to use it for as well, which is really super important. Some herbs are fantastic to make a tincture fresh, some are dried, and some are a combination too of dried and fresh. So I'm using seaweed today, and the best way to do a seaweed tincture is dried. So when you're using a dried herb too, you need to rehydrate it. So I add a little bit of water into my formula for my apple cider vinegar tincture, because I don't want the seaweed to absorb just the apple cider vinegar. I want to hydrate it first and then add the apple cider vinegar. And that way it will help to draw out the properties that I want. I also have a couple of other little secret ingredients that I put in there. It's all certified organic ingredients, but I've been testing and measuring these recipes for 13 years now, and they were handed down to me. I was the 9th generation from a fantastic naturopath. So if you want to do this at home and you don't quite have the background, I would recommend using an alcohol base, because you can't really mess it up. With an alcohol base, all you have to do is it's pretty much 1 for 1. So you get a jar and pack it full of the herb. Remember, do your research. Are you using dry, fresh, or a mixture of? And then you simply pour the 100% proof, which is vodka or something like that, over the top of the herbs, and make sure that there are no air holes. Make sure that there are no air pockets at all, and it goes right up to the very top. And the lid that you use it's got to be able to handle that sort of the alcohol, so it doesn't rust. And it's also, of course, it's got to be well and truly sterilised. You simply put the lid on. Agitation for a small batch like that, so keep it out of sunlight, but keep it warm. So in a cupboard, in your pantry is an ideal place, and make sure that you shake it every day and to get all the goodness out. And then you just quite simply, I use a hydraulic press because I've got a vast volume and of product, but you can at home when it's time. And alcohol is a lot faster. It can be maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You do have to research the herb, but for my method, it can take up to 3 months before my tincture is ready. But I don't actually agitate my tincture, doing this method in bulk. And also, when you're doing it at home, you can strain it through a muslin cloth and then really squeeze hard. Squeeze as much of that juice out, as much of that liquid out, and then stir it in. And because it's alcohol too, it's not going to go off. It won't go off. So you can pop that into your cool room, you can put it into a cool cupboard, or you can, if you want to, you can pop it into your fridge and use it in whatever method that you want to use it in. Don't forget, research and knowledge is the key. Make sure you're doing the very best you can with the herbs that you want to use, and remember to research, what are you using it for? Is it for itchy skin? Is it for when you get sunburn or things like that? So I'd love to answer any questions that anyone's got about any tinctures and some home remedies. So I've just added the hot water to my seaweed. So remember, this is to do a little bit of rehydration, to rehydrate those the dry seaweed herb, so then it'll be more receptible for the apple cider vinegar. So that's I'm going to actually let this cool, and I'll continue to get all my other 4 tinctures ready before lunch, and then they can cool down over lunch. So I'll pop you on hyperlapse and let's get to it. So there we have it. I've got all of my 4 tinctures that I use in my creams. They've got their first stage of weighing out the herbs and sterilising, and also getting the ionised, slightly acid, boiled water, rain caught of course, in our stainless steel tank, into the herbs too. So they're going to sit probably about an hour just so they reconstitute a little bit. And And so then when I add the acids and the alkaloids, it won't be absorbed into the herbs. If anything, it will draw it out. So here they are. That's the seaweed. So you can see already how it's starting to reconstitute there, and it's still quite hot. Oh, it smells pretty different in here. I've got lots of herbs going on in here. This is the hypericum tincture, and as you can see, it's starting to get quite wet too, which is exactly what I want. It's pretty much absorbed all that water already. So the seaweed tincture I make for our after sun cream and our seaweed cream too. So one is basically what I'm after in the seaweed is the silica in the seaweed. Silica feeds the collagen in the skin, and that is so super important when we need to heal sunburn, and also when we need to heal really rough, dry skin. I'll just turn my ionizer off because my next product I'm going to manufacture today is going to be toner. Oh, that's a bit quieter, isn't it? And our hypericum. So our hypericum tincture is for a hypericum cream, and hypericum is amazing. It acts like a local anesthetic. It numbs the nerve endings, and that's what stops the itch. The thing about itchy skin is that once you start to scratch something, you break the capillaries, and the bacteria or whatever the ailment is that is making you itch can be poison from a bull ant bite or a mozzie bite. It can go down through, you're basically helping it to penetrate through the skin, and it can travel underneath the skin and pop up somewhere else and create a spreading effect. And that's why a lot of people have to get the cortisone injections, because a cream just simply won't cut it anymore once you've really scratched the guts out of it and really helped it to spread. So what we want to do is to help soothe and stop the itch, and that's what hypericum does. And the next is our comfrey root. Have a look at that. This is probably the hardest herb that we grow here. It's actually easy to grow. It's very difficult to harvest. You have to dig up the roots. You have to dig up the roots in winter. We have to wash them under a high pressure hose, and then we peel them, and then we bring them into the lab and we chop them, and then we dry them, and we air dry all of our herbs. That helps to keep the goodness. So this is rock hard because it's been dried, but it's starting to reconstitute in this hot water. Smells amazing. Now this is pretty gorgeous to the eye. So this is our heat rub tincture. So this has got whole chilies, beautiful whole chilies, and our comfrey root, and also hypericum. So for our heat rub, all those three components into the tincture that go into our heat rub are basically, the chili is fascinating. It's about warming up the area, but what it also does, it tricks the brain into thinking that you're being burnt. So what it does, it races white blood cells to the area, and hence is a quick healing fix, and also a bit of pain relief. So, and the hypericum in there is for the pain relief as well, and also the comfrey root is in there too, because comfrey root is fantastic for muscles, bones, joints and ligaments. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about my comfrey. So this is my comfrey, and so comfrey is fantastic. I have that in our gardener's hand cream, and the gardener's hand cream, it's for thin skin that bruises easily, because that's what comfrey does. It helps to thicken the skin. It also helps to bring bruises out as well. I feel like I need to cough because there is a lot I've heard. If only this was smell cam. The biggest thing in this sort of bulk herbs is that the chili with the hot water actually releases a lot of the chemicals in it, and it can get into your throat. But anyway, so that's our 4 tinctures there. Brewing, and I'm going to go have some lunch, and I'm going to come back, I'm going to finish them off. Okay, so back from lunch, and here's our 4 tinctures. They've all cooled down, they're looking fantastic. They've pretty much absorbed all of that beautiful ionized rainwater. So I've got a couple of more ingredients to put in there, one being apple cider vinegar. So I'll just pop you on a hyperdrive, let's get to it. Okay, so we're coming to the end of stage 1 for the tinctures. So they've got their apple cider vinegar in there, and their certified organic glycerine as well. So what I'll do now is I will just pop their lids on, and I'll put them in the corner of my cool room. It gets quite warm in here, so, and that's what I want. I want it to be warm but not stinking hot, but I also don't want it cold either. There's the first 2 weeks are the most crucial time for tinctures in this style, because they can, if they're not in the right temperature, they can turn bad. So I will monitor these. I'll keep adding a little bit more tincture. I'll be adding a little bit more to the tincture with apple cider vinegar until it's pretty much up to the top. So there won't be any air pockets when I put the lid on to seal them up completely, and they'll sit for months. I can do little tests with through the nozzle down the bottom. I will do some batch testing. I'll do a bacterial count on them as well, and when I'm satisfied that I've got what I need out of the herbs, then I'll put them under the hydraulic press, and then I'll store them in my cool room in airtight vats as well, and then I can start making my cream. So it's a little bit of a process, that's for sure. But so this is just stage 1, and it's the hardest part now, and I'll just keep agitating them every day for the next couple of weeks and keep adding a little bit more vinegar, and what I'm looking for is they will eventually, because at the moment they're still absorbing, so it's quite clumpy. So we don't want clumps, because clumps can lead to bacterial growth. So we want a really nice dispersion of the herbs, and I don't want any sitting at the bottom, so I'll just keep giving them a little bit of a stir. I'll add a little bit more vinegar, a little bit more vinegar, till it's up to the top. Takes your breath away, that vinegar in there. And I use a well pasteurised vinegar as well, because we want the acid component of the vinegar as well. So, and if you use a vinegar with a mother in it, even though that's fantastic for drinking, but it can hold a bit too much bacteria for this sort of thing. So I really urge, if you want to make tinctures at home, to do an alcohol based tincture, because if you get it wrong and it turns on you and you can't test the bacterial count in it, it can do more harm than good. So alcohol is pretty foolproof for making tinctures, but not for us. We do the old method of extraction of long and safe with bacterial counts with apple cider vinegar. So there you go, that's our tinctures thus so far.